to episode 2 for 2 Tech for You. Today I'm joined with, today's victim is Vivica, my lovely colleague Vivica. And yeah, Vivica is going to give you the inside scoop for what it's like to be a Dutch person living in the Netherlands, and also being a Xelvin recruiter and what it's like for her and some of the experiences that she's had with candidates. So thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I don't know if you want to start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and
Of course, I will start with, sorry, with telling a little bit about myself. Well, as you know, my name is Vivica. I'm 22 years young, and I started working as an international recruiter at Xelvin in January. So we've become quite a way. And I don't know, in my free time, I play guitar. I have lessons. I live together with my mom. We have 3 cats, which I absolutely adore. I guess I'm quite a social butterfly. But I also appreciate like being by myself sometimes.
Yeah.
So I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, awesome. And Xelvin, how did you land up working for Xelvin? What was your journey
actually
here?
a funny story. So I used to work at a different company, and I was looking at like education's stuff that I wanted to study, and then I'm not really sure where I found the name, but I just saw a vacancy which was completely nice written. There was like a funny catch in the vacancies that it was a man role and you had to be able to kind of stand your ground. And that just caught me off guard, and I was like, well, that's nice. So then I printed out my resume. My mom drove me here, and I pressed the button, Xelvin, and then, the elevator got stuck. It was a mess getting up here. It didn't go up. I had to call again. It was like crazy. And then I just walked in here with my resume without notifying them that I was coming. And then Lieke, she's a previous colleague, she was there like, hi, do you have like an appointment? I was like, no, I just walked in here. I just want you to know me. I'm Vivica, and here's my resume, so can you please take it to the right person? And then she was like, this has never happened before to me, like somebody walking in and just selling themselves on the point. And I just said, I just want you guys to know me before you screen my resume. Because there's not always something you can read on a resume.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of things that I do in a unique style, I guess, so that was just part of how I like to do it. And then I think 2 hours later I got a call from Ted, my previous boss, and he was like, yeah, we want to invite you for an interview. Could you please come to the office? And I was like, well, I'm working now, so I will come later. And then I had like 2 or 3 interviews, and then they were like, yeah, you're hired. So, yeah, just walking in like a stray cat. And I never left.
You never left.
They're the most loyal, they say, stray cats. So, I'm just a stray cat of Xelvin.
You know what? Sometimes it's those stray cats or whatever. It's the ones you never expect are always the ones you should keep.
Exactly. So, that's me. That's how I ended up here.
Oh, awesome. What's funny is it was the ping pong. The line at the bottom of the vacancy, it said something about ping pong. I'm like, I'm there. That sounds like a good place to work.
Yeah.
And so, Viv, obviously you don't have the same story as me, but born in the Netherlands. What's something you really enjoy about living in the Netherlands and just enjoy about this country in general?
What I think I like is that it's quite, international. Everybody's inclusive here. I mean, you come from South Africa, you probably felt right at home.
I do.
Not because of the language, but also because I guess we Dutch people are very open. I also like the fact that we're pretty straightforward with each other. I like the approach of the Dutch mentality, let's just say it like that. So I guess that's what I really like. We're very innovative. Sometimes I just don't keep up with technology, But I guess it's good for people to grow here as well. And I just like the fact that basically you can be who you are. without it going into extremes.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what everybody agrees with on that side.
No, I totally agree. I mean, there's so many things to love about the country. I think it's hard to just think of a few things, but I mean, those are still some pretty good things.
And I guess it gets normal. I mean, I'm a Dutch person, so I'm used to this. I can't really compare it to something else.
Of course.
So, like we talked about last time, for you, some things are like a complete different story. For me, I'm just used to everything, so everything seems normal to me. I don't really think about it that much, but if I were to name something, I think that would be what I'd say.
Oh, but it's still a pretty good thing.
I guess so.
And yeah, obviously since you've started, you've spoken to so many people. What are some concerns or difficulties that some of your candidates have had or worried about before even coming here to the Netherlands?
I think their biggest concern would be blending in. What I always hear is that they find it very important to speak the language. But I speak to a lot of candidates from Italy, Spain, Portugal, so they have a Latin background, which is kind of different than the Dutch.
Yeah.
So they're always a little afraid that if they don't speak Dutch, they won't be as welcomed here, or they can't really get around going to shops.
Yeah.
And I always tell them everybody speaks at least some kind of level of English, so you'll be fine. But they all really want to learn because they really find it important. They say, if I go to a completely different country, it's important to speak their language because you're happy that you're allowed to go there. That's something that I hear quite a lot, that they say, Vivica, is it really that much of a deal that I don't speak Dutch? Or, I mean, I could say hello, but that's it. And I think the housing part is quite difficult for them. Of course, we try to arrange the first apartment or place for our candidates to stay in. But usually in their country, the situation is the same with the housing. I mean, in Eindhoven, everybody wants to live in Eindhoven. But there's also a lot of people actually already living here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
At one point, the city is just cramped. You can't get in anymore. And that's what they are kind of worried about. Like, will you guys be able to find a place? And then, when I tell them we try to arrange it, that always calms them down a little.
Yeah.
But for instance, in Spain, they have the same situation with the housing. It's very hard to get a house in the big cities, or in Italy as well, like Milan or Turin. Or so that's what they're worried about. Like, if I can't do it here, how can you guys do it there?
Yeah.
But I always tell them from a distance, it's of course way more difficult. So I guess those two are the biggest concerns that I've heard so far. I guess I would also be worried about that if I were in the same position as they are at that moment.
It's so interesting to hear, obviously coming from the EU perspective,
Yeah.
what your candidates worry about compared to what my candidates worried about. But to a great degree, a lot of it's the same.
Yeah, I guess so. And of course, sometimes when we talk about, salary expectations, they think it's very hard to say something about. I usually just ask them, what are you earning right now? Because I know kind of like the difference, but for them it's really hard. If they tell me, I earn 1,200 euros like a month, I could say, okay, for an engineer here, that's not that much money, but for them that's like the bomb.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, housing here is quite expensive. So if you explain them like about a third of your salary is going to go to your housing, they're like, but I'm never going to make ends meet. And then we tell them, of course you're going to make ends meet, because you can just make your life as expensive as you want to be.
Yeah,
of course there's stuff you have to pay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never really heard an engineer complain about the salary that they have here and living. And I mean, everybody's traveling all the time. If you don't have the money, you can't travel.
Yeah.
So that would be concerns, but I've always eventually heard them turn to a positive. Like, the language is not that much of a barrier. The housing, we can find them a house. And also with the salary, eventually they're happy and they're telling me, I don't know why I was worried about it. So it turns out good in the end.
But I mean, that's all that matters. And it's just as interesting because, obviously I don't speak about salary to candidates because rands and euros, it's night and day. But when you're speaking euros and euros, and
it's more easy.
obviously it's different because it's different countries, so the way that they pay people is a bit different, but it's still nice that you can talk to them about that and actually just show them that yes, it's possible to live a really nice life here. You can still travel, and I totally believe in your life is only as expensive as you make it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've always got the things in life you have to pay
Exactly.
for. But those are normally kind of, and here I find they're very set amounts. Like electricity, water, whatever, you can choose brackets.
Yeah.
And you can choose to fit into that bracket, and then that's what you're going to pay, because that's only how much you use. If you're one person, you shouldn't be using a huge amount of gas, water, electricity, because you're only one person, and they actually give you the means to see where you fit and see where you want to pay. Same with medical aid, all of that.
Exactly.
It's set amounts, and thereafter, if you want to go to Germany, Belgium, France, wherever, doesn't matter, you can.
Yeah.
And go on holiday. So it's really cool to obviously, again, hear it from your perspective.
Exactly.
And speaking about your job here, what's a day in the life of Vivica like?
What is a day in my life? Well, of course, I wake up, get my cup of coffee, I get dressed, drive to work. Usually I start off with checking my emails in the morning, because in the evening, of course, there's a lot of people that send you emails. Usually that's where I start the day with. Just getting the stuff done that you don't want to do at first. Otherwise that drags you the entire day.
Oh, for sure.
And then I have a few intakes. I always have a few days where I do interviews and where I don't. So I kind of have like a week plan, kind of. You have an administration day, you have a meeting day. And of course there's always room to, have a talk with another colleague.
For sure.
But usually I have few intakes. Check my email. We do a little bit of marketing as well. So that's everything that middles in. I don't really play ping pong a lot.
Me too.
I just take a walk in after lunch sometimes to just get a little bit of, oxygen out there, a little bit of the sun. Now we still can. So,
for sure,
and that's basically maybe call a client, apply candidates, check their documents. I think that's mainly what my day looks like.
So super busy every day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that.
My calendar is always full.
But it's always better to be busy than to be bored.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
And I have never been bored. Yeah, that's definitely.
That's for sure.
And what's something you really enjoy about working at Xelvin?
I think the personal approach. I really like talking with my candidates, figuring out what is it exactly that they want to do.
Yeah.
Combining them with the options that we have, because sometimes a person can want something, but maybe it's not possible. Then to match that so that they're still happy.
Of course.
We can help them and we just get to a good solution. I really like that. I just like to be in touch with everyone. I really like the way we work with our candidates. We really try to make it good for that particular person. Not just like, okay, you're one that I placed, you're one that I placed.
Or I have this opening, do you want it? Like totally random, we don't think about it, because that's not how we work.
We really try to make it match them. And I really, really like that about my job. And the possibility that we have to do that.
Yeah, I like that too, because obviously it's always frustrating when you can't give somebody exactly what they want, but that's always a challenge in life. It's either, it could be a language thing, or it could be you don't have enough years of experience, which is the joy of being a human.
That's the biggest bother. But it's also, if you, for instance, a candidate says, I want to do this, and you only have that, but you think the person could match this, it's also kind of like, I also sometimes get like the joy out of it that I, well, not convince them, but that I tell them, you can actually do this. I think you would enjoy it. And if eventually they kind of leave aside what they really want to do, and then they start doing that, eventually they end up loving it because they're good at it. So
yeah.
I think that's also kind of like a big part of our job, trying to explain our reasoning why we think that person would suit there. Because sometimes they have never thought about our option.
Or they've never even heard of that option.
Exactly. So that's also something that I always get a little bit joy from. Like, well, you've never maybe thought about it, but it could be something. And then just having the talk with them, and then them actually figuring out middle talk that's actually what they want to do. So I think that's also really something that I enjoy.
Yeah, and it's exciting because a lot of, especially young candidates, have never gotten that start in life.
Exactly.
I can speak from experience. It was really hard to get my start in life because it's always, oh, you don't have experience. Be like, yes, but I've come straight out of university. I need experience. But to get experience, you need to have experience, and it's a vicious cycle. So it's so, I think, rewarding to be able to give them an option because
Exactly.
as much as, yes, it might not be the exact option they saw themselves,
But they'll
going
get
for,
there.
but they'll get there. And the thing is, it's not to say that they're not going to be really good at the option that we're giving them and quite enjoy it, because it's a really good first start.
Exactly.
And that first start is often the hardest thing to get when you come out of university, because especially in South Africa, you have to have 3 million years experience before you've even come out of university. So it's nice that we actually, our requirements aren't totally outlandish and out there. They're achievable, they're reasonable, and you can have a really good start and have a really good life from the beginning, which is quite exciting. Thanks for that, Viv. And what are some, I don't know, things that your candidates have told you have been a little bit of a shock for them coming here?
Well, we also talked about that last time, that the work-life balance is completely different than what they're used to. It's not only the South Africans. I also hear sometimes the European candidates talking about that, like, oh, well, it's actually, we take a lot of breaks during work. And I'm like, oh, okay. Good. That's good for you. So that's something that they struggle with. And what I can imagine would be kind of like a struggle would be the coffee shops. Because for them, a coffee shop is somewhere where you can get a nice cup of coffee with a cookie or like a muffin or something.
Yeah.
But, the coffee shops in the Netherlands are not quite like that. If you want to go to a coffee shop in the Netherlands, you'll probably get stoned. So that's what I would imagine if I were to travel to, well, if I would not be a Dutch person and I would go here and I would see a coffee shop, I would be like, oh, I want to be there. I just want to taste the coffee beans and everything. And then you come in there and you see everybody with red eyes and just like zoning out. That would be like a complete culture shock for me. That's what I can imagine would be kind of like a, oh well, moment.
And it's also, I think what makes it more shocking is it's not like, for somebody who's never experienced that, they're probably thinking, oh, what on earth goes on in the Netherlands? It's not bad at all, it's just, that is something
kind of like a
stigma
here. That we got in the Netherlands. Like everybody's always stoned and we all walk around in, the yellow, you know what I'm talking
the clogs.
About? Exactly.
The wooden shoes, the clogs.
That's like so stereotypical, and it doesn't, it's not like I know somebody who goes to a coffee shop every week.
No.
I've worn clogs once, but it was like at a cheese market. And then I had to try and put the cheese on like this very weird thing that I had to carry. And then you had to wear the stuff to kind of feel what it was like back in the day. But in the big cities, there's of course more of it. But it's not like we're just all...
But even what's funny about the coffee shops is it's just, and that's why a lot of people make the mistake, is it looks so normal, because it is so normal. If that's what people want to do, you do you. It's your life. Nobody's going to judge you. But if you don't want to do that, you also don't have to. It's just a normal part of life. It's not something totally crazy or out there. But you will get a bit of a shock if you're looking for a nice cup of coffee. You're not going to find it there. Go to a cafe, they sell coffee. Coffee shop doesn't really do coffee.
Well, and another thing, what I think would be kind of like a shock. The thing I like about the Netherlands is that we're very direct, and you know what you can expect. But for some other people, that could be like that we're rude. That's not what we mean. We just try to be efficient.
It is what it is. It's not...
What you see is what you get. We're very clear. We're very... you could say strict on some ways. of course, like buses being on time and stuff. We get angry if a bus is like 1 minute late.
Yeah, I'm like that now, so
you're integrating pretty well. Yeah, so I guess that would be also something that they might think like, okay, well, chill, it's just a minute.
Or like I suppose it's also like the police here are quite strict, but not in a bad way. It's they doing their job. So if you're driving in the bus lane, it's a bus lane. You're probably going to get fined because you're doing something wrong. It's not, oh, but I made a mistake. Yes, people make mistakes, but unfortunately it is that serious that, I mean, if there's a bus full of people, you're endangering people's lives.
Yeah.
So you strict about things where you need to be strict about things. I don't find anything unreasonable. Obviously, sometimes it's annoying. It's like, oh, I just made a mistake. And you're human, but you'll only make that mistake once.
Exactly.
You would have learned.
Yeah.
For the next time. But it's interesting. I also like the directness because I know where I stand with you all the time. I know if I've done something, whether it's good or not so good, and you never have to guess, which is also nice. But I've never found that it's rude. It's just honest.
Yeah.
And you won't say, no, Tiffany, that's terrible. Terrible idea. Don't do that. It'll just be, yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Then there's no point in you humouring me and saying, do that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So, it's really interesting to just learn a little bit more about, obviously, what it's like to be you and you as a Dutch person living in the Netherlands and obviously having experienced all these things through the candidates that you've spoken to, because it's just, it's nice to see the different perspectives and hear it from somebody who's actually lived here, and that I'm not just painting a pretty picture, because it is the truth. Just like the Dutch are direct, this is the truth.
Exactly.
But thanks so much, Viv. It's been awesome chatting to you, and I'm excited to see what we have in store next time.
Who's going to be our next culprit?
Yeah, who's the next victim? So guys, stay tuned, and until next time.
Bye.
Bye.